Hi, I'm Sharon. Welcome to my Theory Tuition series where I'm working with you step by step through each of the ABRSM Theory grades. There are lots of resources available to help you if you go to my website. If you visit sharonbill.com, you'll find some free PDF information sheets and you can download those in US letter or A4 and they contain all the information that you need to know for each section. You'll also find a page there with links to all of my YouTube video tutorials, and you can find out about the books that I've written. I've written How to Take Your ABRSM Music Theory Exam. It's full of hints and tips on how to best prepare for your exam and also how to make the best use of your time on exam day when you're actually working through your exam paper. So if you go to sharonbill.com, you'll find it all there. If you can give me a like, that would be really super, and please do subscribe to my channel to keep updated. And now we're going to crack on with the paper A from grade 5 2014 past papers, and so we'll turn to page 3. That takes us to question 2. If you haven't done so already, I do recommend that you just have a go of these on your own. It doesn't matter if you go wrong. It's always better to learn by your mistakes, and that way you'll be learning it more actively than just by passively copying it through with me. And so we're going to be looking at intervals. Now, before we start that, I always suggest that you write out your circle of fifths, so you've got all your key signatures to hand, major and minor key signatures. You will need this many times throughout the exam, and you certainly need it for intervals. And I find it easier to write it out in one go, and that way you haven't got to keep scratching your head and thinking about key signatures. You've done your thinking all in one go. If you're not sure how to do that, you can look at my tutorial video on the circle of fifths, and you'll find the link to that in the cards and also in the description. And so now I'm hoping that you've got all of that ready to go and you've had a go at these, and we'll check these through together now. So then, interval number 1, we're always counting from the bottom note upwards, and we always count this bottom note as the tonic, and then we just apply the key signature in terms of which flats or sharps would apply to the notes that we are counting. So here we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's the half mark straight away. We know it's a sixth. We're counting up from E flat because of the key signature. So E flat to C. C is part of E flat major scale, and so that would be classed as a major sixth. So I'll write that now. And also major means greater, minor is lesser, and so we've not made that interval smaller. It's part of the major scale, and we've not changed it or made it smaller. So let's look at this next one. So here we're obviously exceeding an octave, so I tend to jump the octave and then call it a compound interval. I find that easier than counting all of the steps, and then you've also got to remember the new numbers, the new degrees of the scale, whereas now we can still just think fourths, fifths and octaves are perfect. So we have a compound interval, and then if we count again from here, counting 1 is our lowest note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have a compound seventh. That's half the marks sorted. Now here we're counting from F sharp to E flat. Now if we just look at that, F to E would be a major seventh. E is part of F major scale. However, we've made it smaller by raising the lower note, so that becomes minor. We've made it smaller, and then it's smaller again because we're going from E to E flat. You can see we've shrunk the interval from both sides inwards, so we've gone from major to minor to diminished. So that would be a compound diminished seventh. I think I needed a bit more room there, just about fitting that on the line. Don't know why I'm starting halfway through, never mind. Okie dokie, next one. So let's just count the interval first of all, counting from the lowest note, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have a fourth. We know that fourths start off as perfect intervals. So we're going from C to F sharp. So C to F would be perfect, and then we've raised that perfect interval by a semitone, and with perfect intervals there's no major or minor, we go straight to augmented. We've augmented that perfect interval, so that's an augmented fourth. It's much easier to visualise it on the piano keyboard. Even if you don't play piano, it's just easier to visualise those intervals. Let's carry on. So here we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a fifth, and we're going from D to A natural. D to A is perfect. So now that that A flat is gone, part of both major and minor scale, and also it's always classed as a perfect, so that is a perfect fifth. If the A flat was still in place, that would be a diminished fifth, but because that A flat, just getting carried away here, is raised, that takes us to our perfect fifth. There we go. And then the last one is a 1, 2, 3, and we're going from A to C. Now don't forget, although that would be an A flat, this natural is still in place, and A to C is a minor interval. A to C sharp would be major. C sharp is part of A major scale, and we've made it smaller. Minor is lesser, and we can see that that is the minor third from A minor scale, which has a key signature of no sharps or flats. So that's a minor third. There we go. And then the next question, which is a transposition question, again works on this topic of intervals. It's just that we're now doing a long stretch of intervals rather than counting individual ones. Now we're asked to rewrite and transpose this upper major second for the transposing instrument of the clarinet in B flat. When a clarinet plays a note C, it actually sounds a B flat. So in order for the player to be playing at pitch, he would have to transpose it up a major second, and so that's what we're going to do. So what we do is we look at the key signature here. Now it could be major or it could be minor, but it doesn't matter because the accidentals will deal with all of that. We don't really need to worry about it. So let's just treat it as F major. The principle remains the same, and it's easier just to presume the major key. And so if we're going up a major second, a full step up takes us from F major to G major. So now we're going to transpose it up a key to G major, and so that means we need a key signature of F sharps now. So there's our key signature, or time signature, and then basically we move everything up a step on the stave, and then we have to translate these accidentals, so we have to lower or raise as necessary. So here a sharp is raising, here this flat is this natural sign is raising from the flat upwards, and so on. So we'll deal with that as we go along, but before I get totally engrossed in that, I'm just going to map out my bar lines. I prefer to stay in alignment with their example because I've got enough to be thinking about without worrying about getting lost and forgetting which note I'm on. And if I go over onto the next line, I'm going to be out of sync with their example. There's plenty of room if you've got a sharp pencil, so you've got plenty of room, and just keep everything nicely aligned. So here we're going everything up a step, so that's a G. We'll go up a step to the A. I'm not going to worry about the stems yet. Let's take things one step at a time, and we can decide what to do with the lines, with the stems, sorry, afterwards. Because we may have to do a little bit of changing there as well. If we go above higher, we might have to turn the stems around. So here this one goes up a step, that goes to a D. Then we're going up a third from this note, so that goes up to an F. So I'm sort of double checking this in two ways. I'm moving this up a step, and I'm looking at the relationship between the last one. So we've gone up a third, and that should take us to F. Now here, that's been lowered by a flat sign, and so this is an F sharp, and so in order to lower that a semitone, we need a natural sign. You can't just copy the accidentals, we've got to look at the direction and shuffle the semitones accordingly. And then we have the same note, but we raise that semitone again, and so we can put the sharp sign back. So we've reactivated that key signature, as it were. Now we're going to move up to an A on the ledger line. Down a step takes us to a G. That's been raised by a sharp. This is a G natural, so that would be also raised by a sharp. Now we're going to go down a third. That should take us to E. It does. Next door note up. No changes there. So now we're going down 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, and that should take us to a B. It has done. Back up a fifth. Back to where we were. Next door note up a step, but we're raising it, so we've got to sharpen that G natural up a semitone to a G sharp. Next door note up a semitone, and that should take us back to where we were. Oh, this one here, and it does, yes. And then we're going to go up a third, so we have to 1, 2, 3 takes us to C. Now here, that was a B flat. If you just look at that, it was a B flat and it's been raised by a natural sign. And so here we need to raise this one. This is a C natural, and so we raise that by adding a sharp sign. Okay, down a third. And then that's an A natural that we need to raise, so we just add a sharp sign to raise the natural. Up a step. Now we're going to go down 1, 3, 5. 1, 3, 5. Space, space, space. So now we're going to go up 1, 3, 4. 1, 3, 4, that takes us to the A. Now this sign here is a redundant sign. It's not really changing anything. That is a G natural anyway. The bar line has cancelled the sharp. It's just kind of reinforcing the fact that the sharp sign no longer applies. So just plain old A would do, or because they've put a natural sign in, you could also do so, or you could put it in brackets to show that you know it's not really absolutely necessary. It's just pointing out that that sharp sign is gone. So a bit of a red herring there. So now we're going down a step. That takes us to G, and we're going to raise that a semitone, so we want a sharp from G natural to G sharp. Next door note down, and now we're going to go down 1, 3, 4. 1, 3, 4 takes us to C. Now here, again, this is a B flat that's been raised by a natural. This is a C natural, and so we need to raise that by a sharp. So we're going to go up a third. That takes us to E, and then back down a third. That takes us back to C, or C sharp actually. That is still intact. So that's all of the thinking done. Now we just need to add the stems. So pretty much all of it is above the middle line, and the stems will come down apart from this first note, I think, at a glance. So this is nice and easy. This is the nice easy bit. Oh, I've coloured that in and I shouldn't have. Getting carried away with my pencil. It's also a good opportunity to double check everything if you do your stems afterwards. There we go. That's that, and that would in fact do. If you want to, if you feel like you've got spare time, you can put your slurs and so on in, but in terms of answering the question, I think we've got the job done there. So that's that question completed. We'll look at the next question in the next video. I do hope this is helpful to you. I hope that you're enjoying it. I'm certainly enjoying working through it with you. Please do give me a like and subscribe to my channel to keep updated. There's lots more to come. And also please do visit sharonbill.com and make use of all of the resource that's available to help you there. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.